a brutal murder, a locked room, and a mystery that defies all logic. Two women found slaughtered in the dead of night, their screams heard by many, yet no one saw the killer escape. No footprints, no weapon, no human could have done this, or could they? A case so bizarre that even the sharpest minds fail to explain it, until a man unlike any other steps in to solve the impossible. What really happened that night in the Rue Morgue, and what terrifying truth hides behind the bloodstained walls. Join me as we dive into the world's first modern detective story, a tale of horror, genius, and a revelation that will leave you speechless. Welcome to Dense, Diverse, Mysterious Story number 2. What song did the siren sing? What name did Achilles take when he hid among women? These are mysteries beyond all conjecture. But there exists a darker enigma, one that lies within the chilling corridors of the human mind, a mind that can unravel the unfathomable, that finds delight in the macabre, in the very threads of terror woven into the night. The analytical mind is an eerie thing. To its possessor, it is both a curse and a thrill. Like a hunter stalking its prey, it seeks out patterns, dismantles enigmas, and thrives on the unseen. The mind of a true analyst is like a whispering specter, gliding through layers of deception, stripping away the veil that conceals the horrors beneath. He revels in riddles, in cryptic hieroglyphs of fate and death, in the icy thrill of foreseeing that which others cannot even suspect. But analysis is not mere calculation. It is a descent into shadows. A chess player may calculate every move, but an analyst steps beyond, into the realm of the intangible, where logic dissolves into something far more insidious. The mind capable of such resolution thrives in darkness, as if the very essence of horror breathes life into its workings. To be an analyst is to gaze into the abyss, and know the abyss gazes back. This story unfolds in Paris, a city of whispers and hidden dread. It is here that I met a man unlike any other. His name was Auguste Dupin. He belonged to an illustrious lineage, yet misfortune had cast him into the shadows, where he chose to remain. The world had forgotten him, and he had forgotten the world. In his solitude, he fed upon knowledge, his mind weaving through labyrinthine horrors with fascination that bordered on the supernatural. Our first meeting was in a forsaken library, a place where the air hung heavy with dust and ancient secrets. A rare, forbidden volume had drawn us both to the same lonely shelf, and from that moment I found myself ensnared in his eerie intellect. Dupin spoke with fervor that burned like ghostly fire, his thoughts twisting and coiling, like the creeping tendrils of some unseen terror. His mind was an enigma, at once brilliant and unsettling, a beacon of insight in the darkness of the unknown. It was not long before we became inseparable, drawn together by a mutual hunger for the macabre. We took residence in an abandoned mansion, a crumbling relic of forgotten fears. The locals spoke of hauntings, of whispers in the walls, but we did not seek to dispel these fears. We welcomed them. The night was our ally, our veil. By day, we shut ourselves away, entombed within the decaying chambers, reading, writing, unraveling the very fabric of reality. But when darkness fell, we emerged like wraiths, stalking the streets of Paris, in pursuit of the strange and the sinister. Dupin was no ordinary man. He moved through the city like a shadow, silent, all-seeing. His cold, penetrating gaze seemed to strip bare the souls of those he encountered. He claimed that most men wore their secrets like glass upon their chests, that their darkest thoughts were mere whispers to his ears. He could pluck the unspoken from the air, trailing a man's thoughts as one follows footprints in the snow. One night, as we walked the dim streets, our conversation drifted into silence. I was lost in thought when suddenly Dupin spoke, his words chilling precise. He is a very little fellow. That's true, and would do better for Theatre de Varietés. I turned, startled. He had spoken my very thoughts aloud. It was as if he had reached into my mind and plucked them from the depths of my consciousness. My breath caught in my throat. Dupin, I whispered, this is beyond comprehension. How could you possibly know? He smiled, his eyes gleaming like a specter's in the moonlight. Chantilly, he said softly. You were thinking of Chantilly, the poor fool who dreamed himself a tragic actor. You pondered his feeble stature, his laughable attempt at greatness. And you reached this thought because of the fruiter we encountered moments ago. I recoiled, shaken. The fruiter? Yes. You stumbled against him as we crossed the street. That small misstep led your mind to a chain of thoughts. Stones, paving, stereotomy, Epicurus, Orion, and then to Chantilly. I merely followed the path your mind had taken. It was then that I understood. Dupin did not guess, he saw. His mind worked like an unseen force, an unholy whisper guiding him to the labyrinth of human thought. And in that moment, I feared him. But our descent into horror had only begun. It was later that night, as we pored over an evening paper, that our journey into darkness truly commenced. The headline sent a chill through my bones. The tale was grotesque. The inhabitants of the Quartier Saint-Roch had been roused by inhuman shrieks. Shrieks so ghastly, so filled with unnatural agony, that even the bravest had hesitated to investigate. When the gendarmes finally forced their way into the house, what they found defied reason. The bodies of two women, mother and daughter, lay inside, mutilated beyond recognition. The room was a scene of indescribable horror. Blood smeared the walls, the furniture lay shattered, and yet the doors had been locked from the inside. No weapon was found, no footprints, no sign of forced entry. Only death, violent, inexplicable death. The witnesses spoke of voices arguing in strange tongues, voices not of this world. And then the screams, the bone-chilling, soul-wrenching screams that tore through the stillness of the night. A mystery, a horror, and in Dupin's eyes a challenge. Thus began our descent into the abyss, a journey into madness, into terror. The Rue Morgue awaited, its shadows whispering secrets of a nightmare yet to be unveiled, and we stepped forward into the darkness. The elder Minot, banker of the firm Minot & Fils, had long managed the finances of Madame L'Espanaye. For 8 years, she had quietly deposited small sums, never withdrawing a single franc, until 3 days before her gruesome death. That day, she arrived in person to withdraw exactly 4,000 francs, paid entirely in gold. A clerk was assigned to escort her home, ensuring the money's safe arrival. Adolphe Lebon, a clerk at Minot & Fils, swore under oath that he had personally accompanied Madame L'Espanaye to her residence. It was noon when they arrived. The moment the door creaked open, Mademoiselle L. appeared from the shadows, her cold hands snatching one of the heavy bags, while the old woman took the other. As he stepped away from the doorstep and into the silent, lonely street, he saw no one, just an empty by-street swallowed in eerie stillness. William Bird, a tailor by trade, was among the first to enter the house after the tragedy. An Englishman who had lived in Paris for 2 years. He distinctly recalled ascending the stairs when he heard voices in heated contention. The gruff voice, a Frenchman's. He could make out scattered words, sacre and mon Dieu, before the chaos erupted. A struggle, a frantic scraping and scuffling, like desperate hands clawing for survival. But it was the second voice, the shrill, unnatural wail, that haunted him most. It was louder than the gruff one. Was it a woman's scream? A German's? He couldn't tell. It was inhuman. 4 of the witnesses later testified that the chamber, where Mademoiselle L's mangled corpse was discovered, had been locked from the inside when they arrived. Not a sound leaked from within. No cries, no whispers, no breath of life. When they forced the door open, the horror that awaited them was beyond comprehension. The windows, both front and back, were shut tight, bolted from within. The only passage between the 2 rooms was unlocked but undisturbed. The front door to the passageway, locked from the inside. No way in, no way out. A small, cluttered room on the 4th floor, just at the passage's end, stood eerily ajar, crammed with old beds, decaying boxes, and forgotten relics. It was methodically searched. Every inch of the house was scrutinized. The chimneys swept. The four-story dwelling, including its garrets, examined with obsessive precision. The trapdoor on the roof, secure with rusted nails, untouched for years. Yet, the killer had vanished into thin air. Witness testimonies varied. Some claimed mere 3 minutes passed between the screaming and the door being broken open. Others swore it was 5, but all agreed the door had been forced open with great difficulty, as if the room itself resisted revealing its horrors. Retracing our steps, we returned to the dwelling's front entrance. The agents in charge admitted us upon verifying our credentials. We ascended once more to the chamber, where Mademoiselle L'Espinay's lifeless body still lay. The room remained untouched, preserved in its dreadful disorder. Blood, chaos, death. I saw nothing beyond what the Gazette, the Tribune had reported. But Dupin. He scrutinized everything, every object, every shadow. Not even the bodies of the victims escaped his penetrating gaze. We moved from room to room, into the courtyard, the walls whispering secrets long buried. The examination stretched into the night before we finally departed. Yet, Dupin refused to speak of the case, not until noon the next day. When he finally broke his silence, his words sent a chill down my spine. "Did you notice anything peculiar?" There was something in the way he emphasized a word, something that made me shudder involuntarily. "No, nothing beyond what we both read in the paper." I murmured, "The Gazette," he replied, his voice calm but unsettling, "has failed to grasp the sheer, grotesque horror of this crime. The police are confounded, not just by the brutality of the act, but by its very nature, its sheer impossibility." He leaned in, his piercing eyes locking onto mine. A locked room, no signs of forced entry, no apparent means of escape, and the voices, those unearthly voices. He exhaled sharply, almost in frustration. The police have made the mistake of confusing the unusual with the inexplicable. But what is truly baffling about this crime is exactly what makes it solvable. I stared, frozen in silent disbelief. Dupin's gaze flickered toward the door. "We are waiting," he murmured, "for a man, perhaps not the murderer, but one who was there, one who knows more than he should." He gestured toward the pistols on the table. "If he comes, we must be ready." I picked up a pistol, my fingers trembling over its cold metal surface, barely understanding the horror I had stumbled into. Dupin continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "That night, those voices, the gruff one, undeniably human, but the other?" He paused, his expression unreadable. Every witness described it differently. An Italian, an Englishman, a Spaniard, a Dutchman. None could identify its origin. All agreed it was foreign, unfamiliar to their ears. But consider this. He leaned forward. What if it wasn't human at all? A shiver crept up my spine. I felt a terrible certainty gnawing at my mind, an understanding too dreadful to speak aloud. Dupin's eyes gleamed in the dim light. This crime, this slaughter was not committed by man. The room fell deathly silent. And in that moment, I realized whatever had entered that locked room might still be out there. Dupin calm, yet unervingly precise. "Well," my friend murmured, leaning closer, his voice barely above a whisper, "that is all very fair. But tell me, what shall my reward be?" "Ah, I know. You will tell me everything you know about the murders in the Rue Morgue." At that moment, I felt a pang of pity. He was not a murderer, but he was tangled in something far darker than he had ever imagined. Dupin, voice soothing, yet unyielding. "My friend, you fear unnecessarily. I assure you we mean you no harm." Dupin, "I give you my word, as a gentleman and a Frenchman, that no harm will come to you. I know you are not the killer, but let us not pretend you are blameless. You were involved in ways you may not have intended. Denying it will do you no good. Dupin, you have nothing to fear, and yet you have everything to confess. An innocent man rots in a cell, while you hold the truth. You alone know the true perpetrator of this horror. Sailor, horse unsteady. So help me God, I will tell you everything. But I do not expect you to believe half of what I say. Even I struggle to believe it. The sailor had made a voyage to the Indian archipelago, deep in the wilds of Borneo. Amidst tangled vines and shadows that seemed to breathe, he and his crew captured something that should have never been taken. It was supposed to be an innocent excursion, but some beasts are not meant to be caged. The beast had escaped. The moment it laid eyes upon her, its intentions changed. The old woman shrieked, struggling in vain. Her desperate cries turned confusion into something far worse, rage. Then it turned to Camille. The young girl lay motionless, unconscious from the horror that had unfolded before her. But the beast saw only another threat. And then it saw him. The beast, once enraged, now trembled in fear. It remembered the lash of the whip. It knew punishment awaited. Then, in a desperate attempt to hide its crime, and then it vanished. Sailor, whispering, shaking, "The beast! It was never meant to be here." I lost control. When the authorities arrived, they heard voices, one French, cursing in horror, and another something inhuman, the sound of a fiend. By the time the door was broken down, it was too late. The beast had already fled, escaping to the very window from which it had hurled its victim. Lou Bon, the falsely accused man, was freed that very night, but the prefect of police? He was not amused. A detective should mind his own business. Dupin, let him talk. It eases his conscience. But his failure? That was inevitable. He is too cunning to be profound. His mind is all surface, like a mirror with no depth. And so, the case of the Rue Morgue was closed. The beast was captured, sold to a Parisian zoo for a small fortune. Dupin, the world is not kind to those who seek the truth, and the truth is never kind either. The beast is still out there, watching and waiting. The evidence was undeniable. The truth was undeniable. Yet even now I wonder, was this truly the work of a mindless beast, or something far more sinister? Thank you for watching. But remember, some mysteries are never truly solved. Until next time, stay curious.